Hi, my name's Kira Shmaleski, and this is my sophomore project. So my project was based on what world history means to me and why it's important that we learn it in our schools. So the importance of world history is it's something that we use every day. I mean, I'm constantly finding myself referring to past historical figures and different historical events, and based on your job description, it's something that you could possibly be using in the future. So I chose this topic because, first off, I'd like to possibly pursue a career in history, possibly teaching, whether it's high school or being a professor. I haven't decided yet. But I also chose it because around me, like I've talked to a couple peers and I've heard kids ask in class why we learn history in our schools today and why it's important. And so I made this project because I think it's very important. I mean, history is something that if we're not focusing on it and learning it, we can make the same mistakes. So I've I've made this project, and my expectations were hopefully to shed some light on the people that don't think it's necessarily important for us to learn, and to possibly further whether or not I want to actually pursue a career in teaching history. So my world perspective was formation of global understanding and causality. I think that's how you pronounce it. Uh, the way my topic connects to my perspective is history is something that we use in society, and it's something that we need to understand. Like, we need to understand why it's important and why we're learning it. And so that's how it connects. And my perspective is important because without understanding, we're left in this constant state of wondering and constantly asking why. And that's really not a healthy state to be in, at least in my opinion. So for my project, what I did was I observed my history class and a couple of my other classes, focusing on how students are involved and engaged in the class, like in history as opposed to some of my other classes, and how the teaching structure in my history class was. So Mr. Baird's teaching structure, he uses a lot of PowerPoints. If you have him, you know this. He uses a lot of PowerPoints and he just kind of elaborates on each point. But I found that a lot of students often get sidetracked during this because you can write your notes down, but you aren't necessarily thinking about each of those facts. And it is an early morning class that I have, so I've noticed a lot of kids will be sleeping or on their phone or just tuning out. So that's kind of an issue. And so student involvement overall, like, it's not the best in that class, and I've noticed a lot of my other classes, it's different. Like, they seem a lot more engaged. So that could have to do with teaching structure or the subject, so that's what I'm kind of trying to figure out. So I made my own lesson plan and was focusing on, if I were teaching a class, if I were to be a teacher, what methods would I use to engage the class and how I would overall help the class. So methods, I said, you can't, like, a lot of kids don't learn from putting up a PowerPoint. Some kids do, but a lot don't. So as a teacher, I would use different methods because there's so many different ways that kids learn today that I would just do a little bit of everything. A lot more hands-on projects, because that is very important, I think. And I'd help the class by, if you're going to be a teacher, in my opinion, you have to love what you're doing, because if you're not passionate about the subject and you don't want to be there, the kids are going to reflect on that and they already don't want to be there. So, but I've noticed I've had passionate teachers before and learned so much from their classes just because how passionate they were by the subject they were teaching. So I think that's very important in helping students learn. So my reflection, I've learned that history is very important in our schools, and I've learned a lot about me too. I've always known that I liked history, but I've learned that I'm really passionate about it, and I would love to do this in the future. So this project was really important to me, especially because it's helping fuel what I'm going to do in the future. But it's also important because I believe that history is very important, and I wanted to show a lot of people that it does matter, and it can be fun. It just depends on the teacher and the class. Overall involvement, structure, it's really important to have. Again, and what this means for the future is that I I do want to follow this career choice. I mean, making my lesson plan and noting like what students learn best with and how to work a structure of a class. I've noticed I really like doing that. I've had so much fun. So I definitely think that I would want to pursue this in the future. That is the end of my sophomore project. I hope you enjoyed it, and thank you so much for watching.